What if his dad had a kid and named her Freya? They're connected
You
because
think?
they're related.
Oh, that
And
would
that
make
Freya is
things.
only half Windermere. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with some more Macross Delta. Approaching that final stretch. This is going to be a weirdish episode, or a weirdish return, because we did episode 21. Obviously you're watching in order, that's the last episode we recorded. However, if you remember, due to how these episodes come out, back to episode 18, where we said that we had just finished watching episode 21, we're coming back from that re-recording. So somewhat a little bit separated from our own material here. Either way, though, we come back with notes. We have some comments, but of course we also have a board. So let's go to the board. And with the board comes the board changelog, where I added Claire Paddle and Lydie Lagone to the Chaos Green line. I understand, yes, they retired, they quit, whatever, but ostensibly they're still allied to, like, they don't stand opposed to the group.
No. I mean, they could have gone back, because originally I think they were part of Chaos from other divisions. Or they got, the only one who got from other division was Prowler. Because she had been, the whole thing that she had been caught as a hacker and she was doing that.
I'm going to say, you could be wrong. I have a note about it. You have a note about it, but my note doesn't clarify. So I will say, you could be right. You could be wrong.
Yeah, so question mark there.
I just going to say, I guess, remember that you said this, because I don't have a note about that specific thing that you're talking about in that note. But we could discuss it if we remember. Anything else about the board?
Let me double check, because last time I missed the fact that, no. Last time we was talking about another show, which we are recording multiple shows in a day, and I said, somebody might be dead. But it turns out that technically, by the time I said it, they were not dead. But then eventually they ended up being dead, so I was temporarily wrong. Not casually.
Well, here's the problem: is that
right,
facts
temporary wrong.
are temporal.
Yeah.
Right? If I said Jesus is dead, would be right now. Wouldn't be right 2,000 years ago. 2,020 years ago. 2,026 years ago. I don't know. We have actually changed calendars since then, too. We've switched to the Gregorian calendar and everything, yeah. A certain number of years ago, I wouldn't be wrong.
Well, over 2,000 years ago.
I'm just saying. Facts are temporal. Unless you phrase them in a temporal fashion.
No, but I'm talking about casuality? No, that's not the word. Causality.
Causality? Is that a video game character?
No. Causality as in cause and effect.
Oh, causality.
Causality, yes.
I swear to God, I was hearing coal salad or something like that every time.
I was messing up the word, so you're... Yeah.
I also swear to God, I think there's a character in video games called Coal Salad.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, it's like one of those you get superpower games. It's like third person over shoulder. I can't remember the name of the game I'm trying to think of, but I think it's either that or I've heard or I've watched people playing the game and they were joking that his name sounded like Coal Salad or something like that. So I'm maybe like third degreeing. 3 degrees away from what actually is true.
Either way, it's very similar. So I'm going to double check and see if I don't make... I guess I didn't make a mistake. So let's say that. Well, we don't have names for all these characters. On Queer Rule, well, last time we saw him, it was, or it, I don't know, swimming in that bathtub / bed. But that was it. Never seen him again. That is one. No, but he has changed sides. Oh, this seems to be... Now, here's a question. you have white lines to Valan still with Arad and Ernest. I suppose technically Chaos and Nuns are on the same side still. Technically.
I mean, yeah. If you especially include the nuke event. I'm sorry, the reaction event.
Yeah. Reaction weaponry. But
or
because
his
of that, they
personal opinion towards.
they nearly got killed because of it. Well, actually, no.
Well, of course, you think of it as a personal opinion towards Illiman, and who was Illiman's commanding. Subordinate back then.
So yeah, it's a bit fussy where they stand with the nuns right now, if at all. So that was my take on the board.
All right. Well, once again, missing out on that character that you never want to point out. So notes.
Well, technically we have the same number of notes, but I guess mine's are beefier, so I'll start with mine. Episode 21, Desired Secrets. The people in Al Shahal fainted when King Heinz fainted. And we know that this process is killing him, Heinz. Could it be possible that if he achieves resonance with the entire galaxy, most of it anyway, and dies in the process, he could kill untold billions?
I mean, it seems more likely only humans. I think the effect on Al Shahal is due to the apple water thing, that they have been infected with VARs directly because they're in the cluster.
Yeah.
And that what we've learned is that most people that have the fold receptors in them are the humans that got it from the Vajra leaving the galaxy visually, but leaving the dimension is what they say. So it seems more likely that they're testing it on the native populations of the cluster, but ultimately, if it was to play the way you're describing, that ultimately it would just kill humans across the galaxy.
Well, I mean, they are trying to control not only humans, but all the other based on the culture.
No, they're trying to take out the UN government. A whole note about that later, which is predominantly human. They want to eliminate human control of the galaxy. And I guess what's the best way to do that but to kill the majority of humans? We don't know how many people who got the fold bacteria from the Vajra are essentially like new types right now. We don't know how many there are or how many of the population of them there are. That every question we have about how many new types are there anywhere in Universal Century Gundam, that's where we're at right now. It seems like a lot, but then again, the problem is that our sample basis comes from the cluster, where we've also been creating that by the water and apple effect.
Yeah, but they already Chaos already projected that if they manage to unlock everything, they can spread their control throughout the galaxy, meaning that if they can do that and affect all those people at the same time, or at least one. I mean, if it's Earth, it would be millions and not billions. So a planet alone could be untold billions.
It would affect the people that have the VARs, which is essentially another word now for the fold bacteria. So it might not affect everybody. It would just affect everybody with this. And the element then that they can infect other people with it via the combination of stuff that they've already kind of perfected in the cluster. Again, the idea that the sample size in the cluster is not the same sample size as the rest of the galaxy.
But then how could if that implies that they already have infected the rest of the galaxy with the VARs?
No, that's the Vajra. That's what we're talking about with the Vajra. The Vajra leaving this plane of existence left behind their fold bacteria, which then migrated into humans, but not all humans, apparently.
True.
So that is the VAR's effect of the rest of the galaxy, but the fact is here in the cluster, we infected people on purpose. That's why I'm saying there's a predominant effect of people being affected by VARs here in the cluster, because that was what the Windermerians were doing to test everything. Now that they know that works, they can move on to step 2, which is apparently the end of the show. But we don't know what the sample size of people with fold bacteria is across the rest of the galaxy. For all we know, it could be
no, they would have to infect them with VARs in order to try to control them.
Or, it's either that. Well, I don't know, it can't be that. Either they're going to launch their offensive with however many people are already infected with fold bacteria, which we don't know. Could be 90%, could be 10%. And then use those people, assuming it doesn't kill them outright, and it just mind controls them, to infect everybody else. essentially everything comes back to mind control. Could be the grace thing. We're going to use the people that are infected to infect other people. But my point was that the sample size element, that what we see happen in the cluster is not itself representational of what's going to happen everywhere else. Because as far as we know, they haven't been, doing it unless we get another future episode where Epsilon Foundation says, "Oh yeah, we've actually been transporting it out everywhere the whole fucking time." In which case, you're right, they have been infecting the rest of the galaxy, but we haven't seen that yet.
But Epsilon certainly has the capability to do so. Probably how they did it in the first place. Because, like I mentioned in a previous note in an early episode, one of the things that they do is logistics, including food and rations for
we
the
got that well
military.
before we ever got Epsilon Group. Master said,
Yeah.
we used to get these in the military. We joked about that back then. Because, he's indicating an actual thing, but we're joking that, Messer just has to let you know he was in the military. He's one of those guys. The problem with retelling an old joke is that you don't get jokes when I tell them to you the first time. So retelling an old one is less likely to hit its mark. You're more likely to try and re-explain the thing again to me.
Anyway, your first note.
Berger says that delta brainwaves are closest to death in a way, but otherwise just describes them as their sleeping context, meaning that all those people that collapsed should just be unconscious. This is, of course, a horrible situation as well. I think I mentioned it before, but a favorite sci-fi novel of mine is called Flash Forwards. Don't watch the show, it sucks ass. Where the inciting incident causes the entire Earth to lose consciousness for a couple of minutes. The book tries to handle the greater narrative behind the incident, which is, what happens that causes the flash forwards. But it also has to cover how many people would die because of it. Like, one of the main characters loses a daughter for having a driver that lost consciousness crash into the daycare. This reminds me of that. So, morbid curiosity, I asked an AI to estimate what percentage of the population would die in this scenario. The factors it took into play were people in vehicles or operating machinery, people in dangerous environments, people with medical vulnerabilities, general population safety, as well as time factors. Overall, it came back to me with a 1 to 5%, 80 to 400 million people in regards to an Earth-sized population would die immediately, mostly from vehicle accidents, industrial accidents, and environmental hazards. That number goes up to 10 to 30%, 800 million to 2.4 billion, again in Earth population figures, if left unconscious for 24 to 48 hours. Vulnerable individuals without care, environmental exposure, people that are trapped or isolated, infrastructure collapse, etc. Because there's no indication on our end how long the people of Al-Shahal are unconscious for. They could just collapse and then wake up like 1 to 2 minutes later, again as per flash forwards, or they could be unconscious until they get another signal from the device.
Well,
in which case they will dehydrate to death.
The Windermerians were picking up people to study them.
They've been studying the signal. They didn't indicate that they were going there.
No, but it was said later on that they actually sent people to study the people who were unconscious.
I only disagree because I don't have a note about it, and I noted everything that was important. So,
now, a note about this episode in general. This is not a bad episode, except for one thing. It should have happened 5 to 10 episodes ago. Because this feels more like setup. Like, oh, hey, these are the members. This is the backstory. This is what we're here. This is what happened before we became famous and effective. We made mistakes. Like, the bulk of the episode is more like, oh, hey, how do we got to this point? But in episode 21, it feels a little too late. And that's constant critique I have of this show, that things feel a little too late, like too kind of rushed in. It's like, oh, we could have done this 5 episodes ago, but nah, we're just going to do it now.
On one hand, I would argue that this episode, the part of the episode you're talking about, which is the backstory stuff, never needed to happen. On the other hand, I would argue that the rest of the episode, probably fine where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the element at play here is that this show is predominantly character relationship focused, less so the massive events going on, because that's always Macross. Let's deal with the big thing last. Let's deal with how are we getting together first. All right, well, my shortest note then. A bit on the nose that the planet Divide was going through a lengthy civil war. So long, in fact, that we named the planet after it.
Oh, you named the planet first, and then we're like, oh, oops, we ended up with a civil war.
What's that thing called where your last name tends to be what you actually become? There is a specific word for it.
I don't know.
Like if your last name is Baker, even though your last name came from your ancestors having a job, that your actually tendency is to become
that which you were named after.
Hold on, I know there's a name for it. Nominative determinism. Literally, name-driven outcome is the hypothesis that people tend to gravitate toward areas of work that reflect their names. The name fits because people, possibly subconsciously, made themselves fit.
No, I know, but it's like I just had a random thought about a particular name and the porn industry.
I mean, people work in porn. I mean, whatever you're thinking, people do work in porn.
And I know, but if it's determined by name, then
Well, again, the idea is that people
a lot of riches in the valley. I'll say that.
Well, maybe in the 80s,
who know.
70s to 80s, the mustache would fit. But again, the idea is that people make themselves fit. So if you had a predisposition to wanting to get into porn and you had the name Dick, then you probably made yourself fit. No chuckle?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Too many dicks in that porn set, that's for sure.
I wish I had one for the other side.
I mean, it worked on in Spaceball.
Yeah, my favorite porn combo was Dick Richardson and Mary Vagina. Like I said, I don't have a name for the other side.
I'll take it always that way.
What's I said? I don't.
But they joke about being surrounded by assholes. Like
everybody does. Everyone knows Spaceballs. They're coming out with the Spaceballs too.
Finally, or actually, never was expected to be another movie. Yeah.
Regrettably, I don't know that Max Brooks has it.
Yeah,
I liked the cartoon, but the cartoon was even stretching the premise of Spaceballs.
There was a cartoon.
Yeah, there's a short-lived one, like it gets canceled or something, I think, but it's like 8 episodes, 6 episodes, I can't remember. It's really short.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do.
The only benefit of Spaceballs 2 coming out is seeing Rick Moranis again, and I have no fucking clue if he even has it. Yeah. Literally, he left to take care of his family, then he got punched in New York, and I don't know anything else that's happened to him.
Yeah. That's New York for you. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I make note of it now. By the way, Reina's name Prowler is a nickname for the EA-6 series of U.S. Navy electronic warfare aircraft based on the A-6 intruder carrier-borne bomber.
You've mentioned a number of times how many of them have names after aircraft,
or fighter maneuvers, or fighter aces.
You've mentioned that a few times too.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned Immelman a number of times.
Yeah.
All right, well, my next note is just a timeline. This is what I was talking about before, about I didn't make a specific note about the thing we were discussing on the board. 2063, formation of the Tactical Sound Unit by Chaos, with Konami as its manager and Reina as a member. 2064, group assembled with Machina, Lady, and Claire as additional members. Lady quits, Makumo created. And that's what I was talking about before when you said that certain members were to come from Chaos, because that's when they said that they're doing an investigation of their group to see who has fold receptors. That Reina was the one that gets found a year before Machina, Lady, and Claire. So the assumption is that if Machina, who was a mechanic at the time, came from Chaos, then Lady and Claire also came from Chaos. because there's no indication that they're doing an outward search yet. This is the people that they got from within their own agency. The only time we have any record of an outward search is Freya.
There were other people as well.
Well, I'm talking about Freya comes because of the search. You're talking about everyone that came not with Freya, but that's still the same thing. Anyway, as I said, Mikomo. I couldn't say her name. Created in 2064. 2065 group's first actual deployment as Walkyr results in failure. Kanami meets Arad and forms a joint group. Lady M threatens to disband the group if it continues to fail. Machina makes new outfits for everyone. Group starts becoming successful after that. Messer joins. Claire quits. Mikumo joins. So Mikumo joins a year after their creation. Lady M threatened to disband the entire group before that.
Get to it, girls. No room for failure, I guess. Literally, because people are dying, and I'm still dying. The war. Talking about that, nice detail that Walker failed without the existence of Delta and Mikumo.
Walker failed because of... You're gonna not like this. The same reason that Sound Force succeeded. Energy, willpower, desire. The element that they put themselves in the uniforms in the outfits, and actually started singing with a inward desire is why they started succeeding. Because it's after that Arad, it's during that Arad shows up, and it's during that they bring Messer on board and save Messer. So, yeah, I think it's more the element of their the outfits. We're singing for us. We're not singing for the thing anymore. I'm going to be the type of idol that I wanted to be, not this kind of idol, which is, of course, why the other two girls quit. So that's my read in there. And I think also, as I said, you probably fucking hate that interpretation, but I think it follows through on the Macross 7 thing. And as always, we build up on the past. We don't ignore it.
Your next note, then.
Oh, I was really hoping you were going to give me a counter argument about how we should ignore the past. So Mikumo didn't audition, but was placed in the group. Reina implies that she has friends in high places. We know Lady M has been specifically keeping an eye on her, and had threatened previously to disband the group if it didn't succeed. So clearly, Lady M placed her in the group, which would also suggest that Lady M knows her origins.
Or commissioned her. And my last note kind of fits into that, or follows about that. So either Chaos modified an existing person, or they cloned one. But if they cloned one, who was the basis of the clone to make Mikumo?
The problem is at the end of last episode, you were heavily implying that she was a clone. And then also when I'm rewatching, she goes, whatever I am, this or a clone. And it's like, well, she doesn't know either.
Oh, that's why I said either she was modified, so she was someone else who was modified and lost her memories, or she was cloned. That's why she has no memories, right? She's a clone of someone else with no memories of their own.
I would normally say that she doesn't look 1 year old. So maybe she's a modified person, but we have fucking Zentradi with her goddamn chambers that can just make bodies. So who the fuck knows? We haven't seen those things in forever. Well, actually, never mind. There was the one in Frontier. We haven't talked about them as a thing in forever. We just see them now.
It happens a couple of times in Frontier because where Clan goes between.
Well, when Michael dies, she's in the chamber.
Yeah,
but I'm saying that we don't talk about them anymore. I guess the Macross were the biggest goddamn things. We got to steal those chambers back so we can try to have the authority of our own bodies. No, you can't do that, says the hero of the show, denying a person's right to their own body validity. They were different times, the 80s. That's your last note?
Yeah, that was my last note.
But sorry, sometimes you don't recognize this, but you have a very weird way of phrasing things. You say, I'm going to go to my last note, or I'm on my last note, and what you mean is you've skipped ahead and gone to your last note. So that when I go to read more of my notes, you're like, wait, I have more. Because you said, I'm at my last note. No, I'm skipping ahead or anything. So
Oh, it literally
context-wise,
was my nest.
it's hard to tell sometimes. Well, I have one left somehow, even though we had the same number of notes. Overthrow the UN government is something Royd said last episode. And it's kind of funny to think. Our journey started with Macross Zero, which featured the anti-UN forces. This is technically our last show in the actual Macross lineup until the new one is finished. So we started with villains that wanted to overthrow the UN government, and now we're ending with villains that want to overthrow the UN government. And in between, it was mind control all the way.
All the way down, yeah. From Charon Apple onwards.
Again, I just thought it was funny. He literally says, we're overthrowing the UN government, Royd. And we, no idea what the fuck happened to them, but Macross Zero, the anti-UN forces, they moved
migrated
to Windermere.
Well, they could have been. I mean, if they survive as an independent entity after the collapse of
and then
humanity,
they go to space, and then it turns out the protoculture was us the whole time, and that's the that's the us and the other side of the protoculture that goes to war with another. And in fact, the Zentradi are just our own creation that are now going to destroy us again. It's a time loop. Birdman's a time loop.
I don't think
At
so.
the end of this show, Birdman's going to show up with two characters, and you know who they are, in it to reset everything.
That might make one of our commentators happy, but
I mean, legitimately, it's no different from, again, Ben Bova's The Orion series. The humanity and the future are the gods that we refer to. But then again, Orion, a bunch of those books go through a period of time where you don't know. I mean, you know that that's humanity in the future, but you don't know that it's sci-fi. Because with Orion Amongst the Stars, find out it's all sci-fi. Like, it's all fucking machines. There's only a Greek pantheon amount of humans left, but they're fucking immortals and whatnot, and fighting an interstellar war against aliens.
So that's it for comments.
No, that's it for notes.
For notes.
All right. To comment response then, and who knows if one of these might be the one you're talking about. RR0722 from The Wings of Goodbye. Congratulations on wrapping up Frontier. I think overall my takeaways were similar to Theta's overall, in terms of this movie standing out from the series and the first movie. It definitely feels like it's its own thing. And from your reaction, it absolutely looks like you guys were having a great time. I think this movie is fantastic as a piece of entertainment, and in my opinion, it only really gets bogged down when it takes time to explain the convoluted plot. Like when they're strategizing in the quarter bridge with Ranka and Luca, etc. I don't think I've gone back to watch the series properly since it aired, and I haven't seen the first movie in ages. But this one I try to catch every so often. If you ever get the opportunity, I highly recommend attending a cinema screening just for the action and concert scenes, or at least watch it in 5.1. I can't wait to see you guys react to Delta, but before that, the FB7 movie is next. As for Labyrinth of Time, if I'm not mistaken, it is meant to be seen between the first and second Delta movies. Well, shit.
Yeah.
We have referenced it a number of times, and I think that kind of spoils something.
Yeah.
Retroactively.
Does it?
Well, because the element that we keep looking at Makuma, seeing the galaxy from distance away, and we keep referencing the fact, well, at least I keep referencing the fact that Alto, the beam pointing outside the galaxy sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm right.
But I guess if that's the case, then the ages of the characters in Labyrinth of Time,
we said they looked
20s?
different. Yeah, we said they looked different.
20s, early 30s, maybe? Well, this is 2060, 60s, 60, yeah, 64,
2067.
Right? 67. And 2065 is the end of Frontier, correct? So yeah, not that much older.
2059 is the end of Frontier. So,
Not
we're
that much
looking
older.
at 6 years?
7 years?
8 years.
6 years, yeah.
Okay,
So
8
Alto
years.
was 17. He's one of the oldest. He was 17.
Well, Alto wasn't in Labyrinth at the time.
No, but he's the average of the
Well, you were talking
all
about
of
the
them.
ages. I thought you were talking about how they visually looked in Labyrinth at the time, where, again, we commented they
no.
looked different.
So they're in the mid-20s, early to mid-20s. Yeah, not that far away. 24, 25 at most, right?
Again, not like seeing the SDF Macross characters show up.
No, they'll be in the 80s, the 60s to 80s, yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends on how old they were when they started. Well, because
yeah,
it's only been 60 years. So if you're saying that they were 20, then sure, they'd be in their 80s now. But
Hikaru probably was 20 at the end of the war.
I think they were teenagers.
22. Yeah, he was 17 at the end of the Space War 1.
Year war.
But Space War 1, and then there was a time scale of 3 years.
Fucking name. There was no Space War 2.
There was a time skip to 2008 to 2012. So it's 3 years, 4 years.
You don't have to count that way. How old was Hikaru in 2009? 17, you 17. Said, right?
Yeah.
Well, 2009 to 2067. You don't have to count every event of his life. It's literally what he was when he started, 2067 now. Which, by the way, 9 years difference. So, what, 58?
Probably. I don't do that math that quickly in my head, sorry.
Oh, I don't either. Sometimes I don't do the math at all. I just spit out a number sometimes and it's right. I don't know if this is one of those cases. 58, I was right. Okay. Well, the only time I ever got in trouble in school was when a teacher got in front of the class after I gave them the answer to a question, and they said, okay, this is what he did. And I said, how the fuck do you know what I did? Detention. Not good at showing my work, and I don't want you in my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, 58 years difference. So if he was 17, he'd be what, 75?
Yeah. 68. Yeah. 70. 75, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Spit numbers out. So I'll just spit numbers out.
No, I'm doing the math.
Oh, so was I, apparently. Anyway, my point being is that, yeah. So I don't remember why we were doing this. Anyway. And of course, the element
we're trying to figure it out because we were told in the notes, in the comments, that we should have watched Labyrinth of Time between.
No, I know that. Movies. I mean, I didn't remember why we were trying to figure out how old Hikaru would be.
Because I wanted to figure it out. What were they doing while all of this was happening, right?
No, I was referring to the fact that if certain people came back, we were talking about how old they would be during Labyrinth of Time, and it's not like Hikaru coming back is what I said, and we're talking about how old they would be. Because I think I was leading myself up to if Shin and Sarah came back, it wouldn't matter, because they've traveled through time and space.
If that's what happened.
Well, I mean, they said it. This thing travels in time and space. Only an idiot would say that and mean it just travels normally. Like, I don't say that
that's full technology is space travel.
I don't say that car outside travels in time and space. True as it might be, it's not how you describe things.
Yeah, but full technology is travel in time and space.
The TARDIS, you would say, travels in time and space because it travels, one, in space, and it travels in time. So you can go back in time at different locations in space. It travels in time and space. The car travels forwards in time and in the spatial dimension. Arguably,
all things are.
Yeah, I think arguably,
all things are in space.
Arguably, you don't describe things that only travel one direction in time as traveling in time.
But I think I always said this from the very beginning. When they say travel in time and space, is because they have to travel faster than the speed of light, and that defines.
That's not how fold is described. Fold is another dimension. It's not the way fold is described.
Traveling.
No one has ever described any fold device as traveling through time and space. In all of the Macross we've seen, that's never been how it's been described. So your argument in defense doesn't fit now that we sat here together and watched every Macross thing ever made.
And we had no indication of time travel anywhere in Macross. So
Because they haven't come back yet. It's a hanging thread.
They're not going to come back.
You say you have no idea what the next show is about. How many times have I just randomly guessed something a long time ago? This could be my Lala created the multiverse of Macross. So something else for you to like, oh, it's so fucking stupid. But me grinning like an idiot because I'm right. Random thing I said, however many months ago it was when we first started this adventure.
Well, technically, Lala, we know it created multiplicities of 0079. No other universe has been connected to Lala's actions.
There's nothing that says that the multiverse can't be the same universe. It's a multiple universe. Multiple universes.
Yeah, but the multiple use of Gundam would imply that G Gundam and
they would apply that to you. No one else said they had to apply that. Literally, she created a multiple universes where Char lives in, or actually all of them Char dies except for this one. And there's the other Lala is seeing those things too, where she's describing many different versions of Char as well. She has created multiple universes, which is, how is that described? I believe it's a multiverse.
Yeah,
you're describing the Marvel
you're doing a rhetorical
version.
trick, like, oh, it's a say just like the card example. When somebody says the multiverse, you usually have multiple realities, including other things. So if I say the multiverse of DC, that will also include all versions of DC, unless one is carved out.
I love how I put you on the back foot so much you sound like me now. No, you're just trying to trick me. That's what you literally just said. You're trying to trick me. You're tricky terminology.
You enter a rhetorical statement about travel, time, and space, that you deny the fact that we do not speak in the colloquial sense, not in the actual description of space travel or time travel, using time and space, because we all determine that
it's the only time they've ever used it. The only time they've ever described anything happening that way is Birdman.
Then you move on to Gundam as an example and say, oh, by the way, this might be something equivalent to when I talk about Lala creating the Gundam multiverse.
I just said multiverse. And when you have never said the Gundam multiverse. I said the multiverse.
Well, it's a multiverse, right? In Gundam.
Yes, it is a multiverse in Gundam.
Implying
the problem is here is that you have to reach outside of anything I've said to make believe that I'm saying other things. Every word I've said is true. You're like, well, if we redefine multiverse to not just be multiple universes, then you're wrong. Well, no, I said multiverse. She did create multiple universes, which is a multiverse. I am not
but now
wrong.
You're slicing these little things like, well, it doesn't have to include those things, but it is this. You didn't say,
it's kind of like when I described the time and space thing. Like, I wasn't also being exactly the same way. The same thing I'm applying to time and space, which is to say no one's ever used that terminology like that before, and we don't use that to describe those things, is the same way I'm describing the multiverse that Lala created.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same. Like I said, if you, for example, use the term for the multiverse of Marvel Universe or the DC Universe,
again, I love like that none of my words were wrong, so now you're just attacking how I'm using them. My definitions are not wrong, so you can't attack that. The multiverse is a multiverse. You can't attack that. I was right when I said Lala created the multiverse, proven how 79 to now. So you can't attack that I was wrong. So the only venue of attack you have left is to create a strongman argument about how I use words and how I must be trying to trick you. There's no way you can be right. You've got to be tricking me somehow. So let me launch off into attack on how you use words. I don't care. I'm not going to stand for it. I was right. You can't prove me wrong.
Okay. Is that the whole comment or there's more?
I forgot we were in a comment. We've tangented.
Let's circle back to the comment, shall we?
Well, I mean, we have a second comment. Probably one that you're familiar with. Khaled Winslow from Labyrinth of Time, speaking of the devil, because, the movie we apparently shouldn't have watched yet, but have. It's interesting to hear Lessons go on about not liking Macross 7, but everything wrong with that show is only amplified in Macross Delta. Stupid Sound Force type group? Check. Goofball characters? Check. Feels like it didn't really fit in the original show? Check. It didn't even have the saving grace of Firebomber's music or seeing the Proto-Devlin or how they took over the Supervision Army. In fact, if you removed the Macross from Delta, it would be nearly indistinguishable from the other spastic modern anime that comes out now. Looking back at the original Macross and Macross Plus, it's amazing how grounded those shows were and how they weren't afraid to take their time, unlike it's the idea of SDF Macross taking its time. Unlike now, where shows just skip all over subtlety and pacing because they were worried about losing the audience's attention. Macross 7 has real issues. It's too long and still didn't feel well resolved, but it's better than what we got now. So if Lessons accepts the goofball garbage in Delta, he has no right to complain about 7.
Oh, I have every single right to complain about anything. I am very sorry you feel that way.
Well, I mean, you haven't accepted the goofball garbage in Delta. So the premise of the argument falls apart there.
Yeah.
You argue about Delta as much as you argued about 7. So, well, not as much, but you've argued about Delta. You haven't accepted the premise, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I think they tried and did it better here, and they have better characters, certainly. I actually care about some of these characters, right? Like, oh yeah, I recognize that character. That guy is a jerk, but he has character, I can see he has motivations, even though they came pretty late. It's like, oh, what's my motivation? Oh yeah, I didn't. Now that I know about my daddy, motivation's like, okay, at least you gave me something. 20 episodes in, but sure, you did something, right? They're like, we should give this guy something. How about we give him an actual motivation?
A necklace.
Okay, cool. Well, that's a completely different show.
I would also argue that how many shows are in Macross? 6?
I think 7 if you
talk about main
Macross.
Shows. So we got Macross 0, SDF Macross, Macross Plus, Macross 7, Macross Frontier, Macross Delta. Am I forgetting one?
Macross 2.
No, we don't count Macross 2. It's not canon, so we don't count it.
Yeah, but
we're watching it because we're doing it all, but we're not. It's not part of the canon, so it doesn't count. So we have 6 shows. I would argue that 3 of them are goofy as fuck. So being goofy is Macross now. When half of your shows are goofy, it's goofy.
2 of them, because I think Frontier wasn't.
I'm counting Frontier as goofy.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was a little more grounded than that. At least they tried anyway.
I'm not saying it's not grounded. You can be grounded and goofy. Your goofiness comes from a grounded place. You understand what's goofy about it because of the surrounding grounded elements. We go from goofy shit back to grounded shit.
Yeah, but I don't. Frontier. I mean, the whole idol thing is always goofy, but
I think when you're putting stuff, say you have a category that has Macross 7 and Macross Delta, and then you have SDF Macross, Macross 0, Macross Plus. Like, maybe put Macross Plus in the middle. Like, Macross Plus is almost too serious. It's like its own thing. So, I think when you're determining camps, that SDF Macross, Macross 0, and Macross Plus are its own thing, you have to put Frontier into the Macross 7 Delta camp.
Well, I would actually put it more on the original SDF and Macross 0. Not as dark or serious as Plus, of course, but on that trend.
On this, okay.
I want to put in
spectrum. Yeah. I wish I had. I was thinking when we finish this and then we do Macross 2, we also do a ranking of the shows themselves. Then we should follow them all. And I think at one point I did have a bunch of the logos for the shows. I'm regretting I don't have it on here. Spectrum, most serious to least serious. Obviously, Macross Plus, most serious. I want to say Macross 0 is the second most serious.
Yeah.
And then SDF Macross. and then Macross Frontier, and then Macross Delta, and then Macross 7.
So we're halfway, But I wouldn't put it solidly on the camp of. I mean, if it's a spectrum, you can slide in one side or another, right?
Sure, you can. You put a little bar on there, and it becomes a slider bar. How serious do you want your Macross?
Yeah, so I think it would be it would slide Frontier slider past the middle point.
I mean, if we're putting it like at where it actually is, I would say it's closer to Macross Delta than it is. What did we say was on the other side here? SDF Macross? SDF Macross, yeah. I say it's closer to Macross Delta than it is SDF Macross, which puts it more on that side than the middle.
I would put it on the other side, but that's just my take on it.
Because it's also a lot of high school romance, like more so than SDF Macross. Like, oh, your phone's like rubbing against me. It's in vibration mode. Goofy ass shit.
Yeah, but it's also political assassinations.
One. There was one of those. It happened one time.
Yeah, that was very important.
You said assassinations because you're trying to make it sound like it happens more than once. Okay, political assassinations, cool. Romance with a little girl. A fucking little girl.
No, she's 17.
I said little girl, not young girl. Little girl.
Oh, she's tiny. Okay, so nobody's the same height. Come on.
Yeah, Also, also lessons the vampire is fucking immortal. Right? Doesn't matter how old she looks. The vampire is immortal. Everyone's cool with that, right? You can just open your phone up on the subway, just like look at pictures of that shit. No one's gonna bother you.
No. That I'm talking about. Listen.
Okay, how about the fact that it's also like basically watching porn every time we watch Cheryl Name on stage? It's goofy.
I would say more clan.
It's goofy shit. Like I'm saying, it's goofy shit interspersed with like serious stuff.
Yeah, but I think the serious stuff is serious enough to pull it on that side.
Yeah, it's short bursts of incredibly serious stuff interspersed with goofy shit all over the place. That's what I'm saying. I think it leans closer to Macross Delta.
Destruction of planets, the killing of Michael, which is pretty hardcore.
So hardcore, in fact, we didn't do it in the movie.
I think the first time I saw it, I was shocked. The second time I saw it, I was like, yeah, it fits. The
second time I saw it, I remembered that I'd seen it before.
No. I have a different. I like Michael as a character, so I didn't.
Okay, how about this? How about this argument? Macross Frontier is so goofy, it includes Macross 7.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
I think it's the best movie so far. Well, close to the second Macross Frontier movie, which I said I think I have it like equal to Macross 7.
Preferably, I will lean on that side, but that's just me.
Like I said, I think it due to all that shit, it leans closer to Macross Delta than it does the middle. I think if you were going to put this on like some sort of like ranked spectrum, nothing is going to be like equally spaced out. I think it's all going to be like doing a timeline of events in the universe where it's just sometimes there's like a big old gap and then something else is there. That's what we're looking at. Like real. You start right here with Macross Plus, and then Macross Zero is ways away from it, and then sort of close to that is SDF Macross, and then way down the line is going to be Macross Frontier. So I would say SDF Macross isn't filled with goofy shit. Macross has like maybe like the Dream episode would be goofy. I would argue that SDF Macross is filled with serious shit.
Spies.
I would argue that SDF Macross is filled with serious shit interspersed with stupid shit.
Yeah.
Goofy is fun. Stupid is tedious.
Lighting a cigarette with a 55 millimeter gun pod. Yeah, that was pretty goofy.
I'm not saying there's no goofy shit in SDF Macross. I'm just saying that goofiness is rare. What the fuck are we doing is more common.
Exodo singing May songs. Yeah, that was pretty goofy.
No, that was on theme. That's like one of our indications of, the culture is taking its effect. Also, Exodol does not get better.
No, he gets worse.
Well, no, he becomes so background that he is literally the background of some scenes. All right,
Loaded into
anything
the
else
ship.
to say
Anyway.
about this comment that I don't know if we've even addressed at all, really?
No, I did. Yeah, nothing else to say.
All right, well, I guess that's everything then. So let's go ahead and hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
The Star Singer.
Okay, what was he doing there exactly?
Well, remember he had the thing flood in his head. Still very unhappy of the fact that I thought he got stabbed, Roy stabbed him in the back. I'm like, no, he just died of this thing. And then 8 episodes later, oh, I did stab him in the back.
陛下のことは城の外部には漏れていない。神殿の調査が終わるまで奴らの攻撃をしのげればそれでよい。
リンゴの苗木、立派に育ちましたね。
ああ、これで畑に移すことができる。
エクスデール村のご子息にお届けいたします。桑と添え木と肥料も合わせて。
感謝する。
What do you mean, your brother?
あれか。
Oh, no, never mind. You're, what's his name, son?
Son. Yeah.
No, I thought it was his son
Yeah, the
for
one
a
doing
second.
the
He's the
strength
other
salute, yeah.
one.
Yeah. No. I mean, that was the whole thing in the episode, that he had a child, that he was an apple grower. Yeah.
No, you're,
That lived-
you're
he
still
lived
talking
over
about
the-
Cassim. I'm still talking about other condiment guy.
No, he's the son of
The other
guy,
condiment guy. Yes, I know. That's what I just
Yeah.
kept saying twice now, in fact.
Yeah, he's also the kid is the falconer as well.
Well, they're both falconers.
Yeah, I know, but he's the one who is the current falconer. He
Technically,
hasn't
also not
joined
called
the
falconers in the show.
dragon birds.
Well, those are the... Yes, they're not falcons, they're dragon birds, but I'm saying the art of raising and training them and doing a competition with them is called something else with a D, like Drac.
Yeah.
Like the CH noise, like a Draconology or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. They specifically talked about it in the scene where he comes and says, "Hey, this is my son." And it's,
Mhm.
again, condiment guy.
Yeah.
As I've indicated, I know what I'm talking about. I just don't know the words. Well, you'd hope I know what I'm talking about. I made the board where I'm connecting everybody together. If I don't know what the fuck's
True.
going on, what are we doing with the board segments? The board
Good
segments were
question.
you telling me. What are you doing? These guys aren't even in the show. You got Oscar the Grouch on the board.
Hmm.
You also haven't indicated the random person I have actually added to the board yet, even though he's been on there 3 times.
Now the question is, they're going to go to this other planet, which is where Mercer.
Alpine. They're going to Alpine to disrupt
Alpine,
the
and from
network
there-
so that they can then get to Windermere, which is their main plan. You'd think one of us would have included that in their notes.
Yeah,
もしまた暴
we
走
didn't.
したら、タイや市民に危険が及ぶようなら、その時は撃墜してでも私があなたを止めます。
No better plan to assign it to the person who's clearly in the love triangle.
わかった。でも二度と暴走なんてしない。期待しています。
Also, Freya hasn't actually cool full body
Uh-oh.
condoms.
I guess so. Yeah. Oh, so that's where they keep the rockets. Okay.
I mean, it just makes just as much sense as at the bottom of the skirts.
Yeah.
For no related reason, I can't remember what we were talking about before.
気を使わなくてもいいわ。私は私。ただ歌うだけ。でも、この思いも作られたものかもしれない。くもくも。
It was made to be a weapon. by Lady M, I guess.
I literally had a whole note about it, lessons. If you've forgotten everything already, you see like 5 half-naked ladies, and suddenly you forgot everything about Lady M.
もうよい。しかし、まだ皆には黙っていてほしい。
Plus, you had your fucking chance at my coronation when I said I wanted you by my side.
して、何をか
Well, at least that confirms that.
陛下に一つお尋ねしたいことがございます。様々な不測の事態が発生しております。そのことについていかがお考えですか？
ロイドが言うには体制に影響はないとのことだ。よくウィンダミアをここまで導いてくれている。
So for now, where he's being mind controlled by a star child. I guess the Star Singer could be a not proto-devil. Well, I said proto-devil before, but also proto-culture is what I meant.
ロイドの起こす風に乗っていれば問題はない。
Yeah, right.
Typically, people don't describe stuff as being stirred as a good thing.
Yeah.
あなたが生まれた日、グラミア陛下が一度だけ私を翼竜乗りに連れて行ってくださいました。側室の子として生まれ、風の歌い手でもなかった私に、陛下は誠なる風の乗り方を教えてくださったのです。誠なる風は己の中に吹くもの。
Especially after some beans.
Oh, this reminds me of the giant birds of Eden. Macross Zero.
私は風の騎士、ウィンダミア王の命ならばいつでも剣となりましょう。陛下の風が正しく吹かんことを。
Takes everything inside of me not to make a fart noise. You know, someone out there had been doing like an abridged series on this, just all fart noises this whole fucking show. Every time that you say wind. Oh, this is what was shown in the preview, them talking.
でもこれでもう一度飛べる。ミラージュや隊長に感謝しねえと。ま、あんたは歌って俺は飛ぶ。お互いそれしかできねえもんな。
単純で羨ましいわ。
そりゃどうも。
でも、それでいいのかもね。今は。
だろ。
ずっと不思議だったの。私の歌の方がバールを沈静化できて銀河にも響き渡っているのに、なぜあなたはフレイヤの歌に反応したのか。
あいつとはなんかつながってる気がするんだよ。
What if his dad had a kid and named her Freya?
案外怖いのよ。あれ。
They're connected because they're related.
怖いなんて思うんだ。
Oh, that
And
would
that
make
Freya is
sense.
only half Windemirium. But you know, in classic human parlance, we can breed with anything.
3歳だったとはな。
Nice shoes.
行くわよ。私がいなければ巨大システムは反応させられないんだから。
You know, unless the wind singer says something, in which case it will react without me, but not in this particular instance, hopefully. I broke my fingers, by the way.
Genetically engineered to make that sound. I hope they fix it, the reactor on that, you know, that ship. Otherwise,
They literally just said the reactor was stable.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have control of the galaxy yet.
Which is being episode 22. It's gonna it's gonna fail. It has to fail.
Well, again, the product is over episode 22 to do this part, which is the preemptive step for them to go to actual Windermere. Which kind of implies that if we're going to take this long to get to Windermere, that they're not going to go to Earth, and we're not going to see the final battle at Earth. We're going to see the final battle at Windermere. Good luck, Ranga City. Hope nothing happens while we're gone.
Wow, we haven't seen a monster in a while.
前期3回モルドール方面軍の実力を見せつけてやる。了解。またお前に乗って戦うことになるとはな。行け。
Yeah, clearly these guys are not the yeah.
Solid comment.
I thought it was gonna be the wings, the knights coming in. No, without the knights, they're kicking ass.
Macross 級を投入してきたか。
Well, duh. They had one.
It's the only one they have. But jumping from the atmosphere, oh, that's something that's new.
Well, it's not actually.
Well, yeah, remember that when you did it back in SCF1, they took an entire island with them.
How many jumps have occurred before that one?
In atmosphere?
How many jumps have occurred in all of Macross before that one?
Oh, they said try to jump all the time. Really jump
How
into
many
systems,
have we
so, yeah.
seen before that one?
The SCF1 when it came in as one also jumped into systems.
We didn't actually see
and
that.
crashed.
We didn't see that. So the one that you say literally haven't seen is the very first jump we ever see in SDF Macross, which is the very first show in Macross. Hey, it's my squadron. Yeah, you could just say performance. I had literally no idea what the difference between a tactical performance and a performance is. Cool. Only remembered what he did last episode in a flashback. Nothing about what he done the entire time at the beginning of the show. Now you probably turned into a jellyfish and you ate him. Or he got killed in the nuke.
Yeah.
Then what do the jellyfish
Other than
reincarnate
your song,
as?
yeah. Well, she doesn't have her heart. Yeah, she doesn't have her heart into it because Hayate.
Yeah, but I thought we were mostly focusing on Makumo. You know, this pressure isn't helping.
There you go. That's smack. That'll wake her up.
By the way, guys, I broke my finger. You guys haven't helped me. Believe in the Hayate that believes in you. Oh, thank God it's 4:30. Yep, that's right. It's gonna be all stupid jokes from here on out.
Oh, how you dare try to control the entire galaxy and enslave everybody? So yeah, no, you went past the we're the offended quite a while back.
Legitimately, Mikumo is the only one who can do it on her own.
Now that went back to the classic song, yeah.
And also with that, you can now make a website.
Yeah, the shouting is not gonna do much.
Whatever that does and or means. Well, he's dying. He's burning himself out. So, clearly not a light-based weapon, considering how far she was from him, and she jumped in front of it. So not that I would want Mirage to die, but I feel like the tension of the scene was that he was about to kill her, and he just fucking didn't. And I want you both to know right now, for at least 4 more episodes, I will not do anything that puts anybody in danger. And you will 100% save me every time. Well, I'm checked out on this fight. Who's literally sitting still, unmoving.
Yeah.
Fired a super laser weapon at him that moved so slowly another fighter could get in front of it. And then couldn't shoot them while they were both sitting still. Thank God, I love how we both look away from what's happening to us to hide. Glad we didn't see the other guy move out of the way or anything, or shooting missiles or whatever. Again, I have no stakes anymore. Cassim should have wiped the floor with those two, who one had their back to them, and the other one wasn't moving at all. That's a counter we should have had. How many times have people fallen from the sky and been caught? It's the slap counter of this show. Shame Lundamirians never got that shield technology, apparently. Well, you see, I was about to kill a main character.
Yeah.
But then my deadly disease that I've been pushing to the edge didn't actually kill me. It prevented me from shooting. Now I'm going to crash in my own grove so I can see my own apples one more time before I die.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't the other two just land here a second ago?
No, the other one got shut down.
No, the other two.
Which other two?
Them.
I don't think that gun is going to work if he decides to fight.
Okay,
like you just said, it's all about.
That's the reason. I can accept that one. That he didn't shoot him because the space between past Hayate was the apple orchard. That's why he didn't fire, not because he was dying in the moment. Certainly more true to the character than anything else. Especially since he got fucked over by plot armor the whole rest of the fight.
Yeah, because that was a legacy he wanted to leave to his son, so.
No, I'm talking about the element that, again, Hayate is going fucking crazy, so he's essentially just floating in midair, not moving. And I fire a beam weapon at you that moves so slowly that the person behind me got around me, shielded me with those shield things, and then turned their back to me, right? And then hugged Hayate. So both of my targets are now at one point. Both have their backs turned to me because both of their faces are to each other. And I just fucked off, I guess, for a little while. Because you're having your moment. I don't want to shoot you in your moment.
Yeah, that was the big week.
But even though I'm actually burning out my wicks on both ends to kill you, and you're not at full strength because you're not accepting Freya's voice or anything, I somehow still can't kill you. I've said this so many times. I had a whole conversation with Ray about this in Record of Lotus War. Without stakes, I have no investment. Why should I be invested in the fight if I don't think anyone can lose?
But in Record of Lotus War, it's not so much that they.
No, don't worry about that. Hold on. I feel like I thought we were getting it next time on.
Extreme bravery, yeah. No.
For one thing, don't tell me anything about Record of Lotus War. We're not done yet. And then also we're going to be watching Chronicles of the Something Night after that, which is the 27 episode. Yeah.
And the movies? So you watch the movies as well?
I don't know what our plan is. We've only discussed since we're watching the 12 episode thing, which is really short and fairly abridged as I'm finding out. We're just
you're not watching the whole series?
No, we're going to go on to the Crystal Night, which is the Crystal Land, whatever. The thing that is the actual we're watching the 90s OVA first, and then we're going to go on to the other thing. But no, I had a whole conversation about, I think, after the first episode. No, the second episode. After he fights the goblins in the village, about what the meaning of a fight scene is. And if I have no investment in it, because I don't believe the character can lose, then it doesn't matter. And I'm not entertained by it. I don't watching it for any good reason. Say, I know I just said don't mention Record of the Lost War, but I'm going to use that as a quick example. And I'm not looking for you to hit back with anything. I'm only saying it to you because you apparently know.
Mm-hmm.
Because episode 1 is a prequel to events that are like halfway through the first OVA series, we know that nothing is going to happen to Parn in this episode 1. He's not going to die. He's not going to lose a hand, an arm, a leg, anything. Nothing's going to happen to him here. And he has next to no investment in anybody else here. They're trying to kick him out of the village, and everybody is effectively an NPC except for Zach, literally the villager who wants to kick him out because of what he did.
Yeah.
The mayor's daughter, because he's saved her, and the mayor. But those 3 people are safe too. They're like not in fight anymore. He's fighting the last guy left. Everyone else has been knocked out by Slain and his magic. So there's literally no threat but to Parn, and Parn is not at threat for any long-lasting injury because of how the first episode goes. So I have no investment in how this fight turns out because I know Parn wins, and that's it. So if you do that for your main character all the time, now I'm moving on from Record of the Lost War to this, the fact is they're not going to let Hayate get hurt. They're not letting Mirage get hurt. And like I didn't know that until the moment where Mirage gets in front of the shot, blocks it, and then hugs him, and this dude who's literally burning himself out to be the best fighter pilot in the air at the moment, can't take them down when they're sitting still, not actively defending themselves, literally putting themselves in literally the worst position possible, back turned to an enemy, holding on to a guy who's lost control of himself, actively not defending himself either, and they could not take them down. That is the most Mary Sue shit I've ever seen. Or Gary Stu, if you like.
In a while.
No. This is the most. Like, literally the most. I cannot, like, name a scene where both of your characters are defenses down, standing perfectly still, and a guy with all the weaponry necessary is just pointed at them, ready to kill them both. It was also literally said, I'm not going to hold anything back, because I told you I wasn't going to hold anything back.
Yeah.
It's legit if, like, Giran survived in Universal Century when Kaisili was standing behind him with the gun pointed at the back of his head. Exactly the same scenario. Got your back turned, no defenses, I'm pointing a weapon at you, and then Giran somehow survives. What the fuck happened?
I guess I was so wrapped into the, Hayate having his moment and then trying to get into the gate and go through there, that.
I don't even know how you would. I don't know how you could get wrapped up in that. Because literally, the thing is, what's his name? The one whose sister died, or maybe died, even though Anyway, fires all of his missiles up at it to get rid of the guys that are going towards the portal at the moment. Except that the very next scene is none of the missiles exploding, the other craft just not being there. Like, you don't need to see what happened there.
No, we see one of the twins actually sits him down when he survives.
I appreciate that you cut out, like, literally all the explanation. All I heard was, oh, you see the twins. And then you see, it's like...
No, what happened? Okay. The missiles come, they're going up, and then one of the twins sees the missiles, and he's the one who fires at them, destroys them, and he gets engulfed in explosions, and then he came out of the explosions.
Maybe you saw it. I was literally watching the whole thing. I didn't see that. I saw him firing the missiles, and then he says jellyfish special, or wedding special, what the fuck he says, and then you see his face, and you see the other craft behind them, and then you look back at the portal, and there's nothing there. Everyone that was going there, gone. The missiles that were firing up at it, gone, which is nothing. Just the portal, and then moving up towards it now.
The thing is, though, it's hard to believe that they can
Make
win
shit like
this
this?
with. No. They don't have the like. Oh yeah, this is a Hail Mary. They got Walkur. They got a couple of the Delta guys. That's it. They have to take on an entire planet full of people plus the rest of the flight, the Wind Knights, which they never been able to beat before, right? And it's like
Never been able to defeat before? You mean every time that they've won? The only time that they ever lost was when Messer sacrificed himself. And they only lost because they lost somebody. They have accomplished every mission that they've set out to do. What loss are you thinking about?
Yeah, they get beaten. They get beaten over all the time by the Wind Knights, especially by the
Name one time.
They-
What time did they fail
the
the
only
mission?
reason why they were winning was at the moment Messer got killed. They were
Again,
sent
I
back.
love when you're cutouts. I should do arguments like this.
I'm
I'll
not
tell you
cutting
this,
out on purpose.
yeah, they lost every time because and that's how they keep losing all the time. This is what you are like sometimes. You just think just cuts out like right at the beginning of your.
Not my fault. It just did. I'm not
it's
touching anything.
inconvenient how you're winning all these arguments by saying nothing. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that they've accomplished every mission that they've set out to do. The Wind Knights have never beaten them. The Wind Knights are always forced to retreat.
I mean, they wouldn't be in the situation they are in if they fights are in.
No, because they're just very inefficient at what they do. That the Windemirians are doing like shit across the entire cluster, and that they're like choosing battles with the Windemirians, and then every time they do, they win. You remember even the problem I had with the one episode where like Freya jumps off the thing and she sings, it's like this is the best song that Freya's ever done. Is the element that they were having to retreat, but in their retreat they're kicking their ass so hard. I'm like, why are you even retreating anymore? They win all the time. They were winning while they were running away. That's why it's so unfucking believable that they run away at all. The Windemirians, the Wind Knights, get their ass kicked every fight. I don't know what show you're watching. Like I even asked you, what fight did the Wind Knights win? And you blacked out on me when you were trying to talk. I didn't hear any. Name one time the Wind Knights have won.
No, they killed Messer, that's for sure. And
I would say they still lost the ultimate engagement, though.
no, they were forced to retreat because literally it was like
Because they
got
always are
control
forced to
over-
retreat. They are forced to
No, no,
retreat every
the
goddamn
Delta
time.
force, Delta was forced to retreat.
Yeah,
and
but
they
the
got control
Windemirian,
of
the
the-
Wind Knights also had to leave because how else do you think the on the ground Valkyr were able to get picked up by anybody with Messer also crashing into the ground? Messer, their only aerial cover at the time. Because the Wind Knights ran away. Because they always run away. You know, the only time that they had him dead to rights was when they had him like on their knees on the ground. Because, you know, the vastly physically superior Windemirians can kick their ass. Oh, wait, that's right. A wounded soldier and a couple of holograms defeated the Wind Knights. They always lose. Your only example of them winning was the one time with Messer when Messer died. And of course they left because when Messer died, because Messer was like a fucking sacrifice piece for the show. Is that all you got? Because you say they get their asses kicked all the time, but you've only listed one. And it wasn't even a win.
Yeah, that time when they were forced to retreat from the planet, they should have kept fighting, but I guess they want to protect the civilians. That's the only reason why they left.
So your indication is that the Wind Knights win all the time, and they kick our main guys' asses all the time. And you couldn't even list one where they didn't run away.
Well, I guess when you pit them against someone else, they always win. But when they pit them against Delta, they lose.
They don't really get pitted against anybody else. When it's
Oh,
other,
yeah, they destroy-
when it's other people, it's like the fucking nuns and when we're doing mind control VAR shit. They don't even fight them. They just like they're in the area and then they got one mind control. Like the one time I think you're thinking about is Keith when he takes out that fleet after he gets his eye torn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were also doing the mind control shit there. Those people couldn't even fight back.
Yeah, but he's the one who took down all of the full jammer system that allowed them for the mount control, and finally they killed everybody because of it. Like, he literally went along, like, oh my god, he's so great, and he just kills a bunch of people and destroys all of them.
So is that
by
your
himself.
only example about how they win all the time? Is that one time Keith did a thing?
He did it by himself with an eye patch of all things.
So one time. They win all the time because they won one time against not even our main crew. I'm going to say, arguably, they won the one time that you're referring to against another group of bad guys. So that's what I'm saying, is that they don't win all the time. They are the mooks of the series. They get their asses handed to them constantly. And it's just not entertaining to watch a group that gets their asses handed to them all the time, unless sometimes they do get a win in. I would say, like, Visions of Escaflowne with the Dragon Slayers, Delandu's group, that sometimes, like, you see them right at the beginning. They give them an early win in Visions of Escaflowne when they burn down Fenelia. They kill Balgus, like, the best fighter in the entire fucking show. The one that you later see in flashbacks trained all the best fighters, but then are a threat to the Zybok Empire throughout the rest of the show. And then Delandu just, like, attacks other places. Like, the idea is that he doesn't really get wins in against the main characters. Like, he just forced them to retreat a couple of times. And then, after a certain point, Delandu's getting his ass fucking kicked. Like, I haven't seen Delandu for half the show now because he went fucking insane. And then his entire crew died. Like, all the Dragon Slayers got fucking killed. And it's like, They got their wins in early, made themselves a viable threat, and then almost killed Alan, and then they got killed. So, I'm not saying that's like the perfect way to do it, but at least you got to establish they're a threat first off. The Wind Singers just got their asses fucking handed to them. Wind Singer, I don't know what, Wind Knights. Aerial Knights.
Wind Knights, yeah.
The Aerial Knights. Like, they put on a good show at the beginning when they were doing, like, holographs in the sky, and Royd's giving a fucking speech in the hologram. Never a real threat, though. Legitimately, the nuns were a bigger threat to our people than the Wind Knights were. Well, look, how many kills on our main crew do the Wind Knights have under the belt? I don't think you can count Messer. Messer basically sacrificed himself.
I mean, they managed to kill, background NPC and nuns. That's what they killed a lot of.
Yeah, but of our main crew is what I said.
I know. I think they managed to shut down. Actually, Hayate, I think, got shut down once.
I don't remember it. So I would argue the nuns took out what's his name's sister. The nuns got one, and they're supposed to be on our side. The nuns have killed more than the Wind Knights have.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not having it right now with this show. Because I feel like there needs to be a threat. I need to be like, oh, something could happen here. And I don't feel that way. Like, I'd say, to be fair, I didn't feel that way going into it. But literally having two of your characters, backs exposed, middle of a fight where the guy who you're supposed to have the most empathy for from the Windermerians, he was like, literally, we see him burning himself out to the point that the white stuff is going across his face. Can't kill them when they're utterly defenseless. And not because he emotionally can't kill them, because the camera just didn't focus on him. I don't know how you couldn't be taken out of it at that point. It's like watching one of those, I don't know what you want to call them, comedy. You see Video Game High School?
No.
The Rocket Jump team did that back in the day. Anyway, they would do like, when they're playing FPSs, they would just put them in the FPS and they'd be running around shooting everything like that. And then sometimes they would have like an emotional moment in the middle of the battlefield. You see people in the background being shot and turning into like pixel explosions and whatnot. And of course, these two would just stand in the middle, like, oh, and then that's when I, having a little conversation while everyone's getting shot around them. That kind of nonsense. That's good for like a YouTube series where it's mostly jokes and then some emotionality. If I'm supposed to be taking this seriously because it's like a war situation or something like that, and you're in the middle of the battleground, and a guy is actively trying to kill you, like he is sacrificing his life to try and kill you, and we gave a whole scene to him before about just talking to you guys, and we can actually understand each other, and this and that, and I'm not going to hold back next time I see you. I'm going to fucking kill you. And he repeats that here. I told him I wasn't going to hold back. Click. It's weak. It's weak ass.
Actually, Hayate gets shot down, and then he switches over to flying Messer's fighter in that one scene. In that one big battle.
Literally the same episode, so it doesn't really count, I don't feel like. He literally ejects, goes back up onto the platform, gets in the other craft, and then rejoins the fight. And as I previously described, they're kicking so much ass, one wonders why they're running away.
Well, we only have how many episodes? 5 episodes? No.
4.
It's 4 episodes. No, it's 4 episodes to go, yeah.
I'm just saying, everybody
whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Everyone
soon.
roots for an underdog. It's really hard to root for somebody who wins all the time. I mean, some people obviously do. People cheer for champions, right? Because I guess they've proven that they can win. I don't...
Okay, everybody roots for the underdog, but everybody loves...
Once again, love your microphone right now. Everyone roots for the underdog, but everyone loves us. That's what...
Whatever the fuck I said, yeah. Like I said, everybody roots for an underdog, but everybody loves a win.
Sure, I mean, it's true. But again, I mean, my point is I don't know if these are people that loved the winner before they were winning, when they were an underdog, and have been on the bandwagon, or at least bandwagon jumpers. They just jumped on the bandwagon, because I don't know anybody else in this sport. I'll cheer for the winner.
Happens more often than not.
Well, apropos of me ragging on it for a lot longer, do you have any final thoughts about this episode?
I'm wondering how they're gonna tie everything together. And I don't know if they're gonna pull it off or not, to be perfectly honest. The setup here seems so implausible. I mean, again, we're going back to the one thing I always said earlier on, that had they made Hayate really be someone who learns how to fight better instead of having the shortcut of, hey, by the way, she sings, you become a super fighter, we're good to go. Yeah, that's one of the weaknesses of Delta. That's the one part that has never really, once we discover that once time Freya starts singing, he's invincible, or nearly so. It was like, you could have gone through a little more training and show. I mean, and we've forgotten all about the fact dancing, he dances in the air, he knows how to. You could have developed that a little bit more in his own combat style, whatever. Nah, doesn't matter. She sings, he kicks ass. That's the formula.
I'm thinking where we're at. Think back to Macross 7. Before they go on their attack on the ice planet, we have that whole episode where everyone goes through their motivations, their relationships with another. I know I said it was one of the best episodes of the show. Because oddly, it's one of the only build-up episodes that I really liked, because usually it's my payoff episodes that I enjoy. I think that's what the episode where we flashed back to the past was supposed to be, going through everyone. No, I'm just equating things together. That's why I'm indicating that Macross 7 did it better than Macross Delta, because I actually felt stuff with the characters. You finally got the payoff on, are these two in a relationship or are they not? You got to see your favorite character swimming laps in a pool. But the element
I'm a simple
that
man with simple taste, so what can I tell you?
I feel like that's what that episode was supposed to be. We're getting a little confirmation about the backstory of Makumo. We're going through the backstory of the characters' relationships. We can cover the dead character's relationship to them. And then we launch off into we got to go to Alfheim in order to then be able to break into Windermere, which essentially is our ice planet. Well, it is literally our ice planet. Same as Macross 7. But Macross 7 was like, okay, you're going to fail that attack, and then when you think you're going to escape, I'm going to nuke your ship. So, Macross 7 had stakes. They fucking lost, right? And then had to fight to escape back. Stakes. I cared what happened. Also, not for nothing, I did enjoy the characters of the show, so I was like, oh no, we're going to lose Max. Because, Max almost took a nuke to the face. So I thought it was going to happen, and Max is a character we enjoy because of legacy. So they pulled that off there. The equivalent here, oh no, Hayate is going to get fucking murked by Chasm. Except, no, he'll just turn his... Because literally it's one for one. You remember Max puts up the shield in front of Basara when Max thinks they're going to fire the nuke. Mirage, ironically, lineage of Max, puts up a shield in front of Hayate when the beam comes out. Except, they didn't just fucking ignore Max and Basara right there when they're in the middle of everybody after they teleported the nuke to the ship in orbit. They fucking took them out and assembled them to tell them, hey, you're now our fucking energy slaves now. Here, Chasm just fucking vanishes.
I mean, the next episode, they just find a buried ship and they fly away. They don't get murked, but...
Well, no, technically, they get shown what's going to happen to you. This is what the spiritual farm is. And then Basara, tries to save them and actually makes them suffer even more. And then it's, what's his name? The one that says beauty all the time. He's the one that then shows up, and it's him fucking up, getting hit by the spiritual thing, that then gives them an opening to leave. And, not for nothing, Gamlen then gets, taken over by him in the process of trying to escape, which, by the way, is a great way to bring Gamlen back, because we thought he had died. And now he survived, but oh no, wait, he's actually possessed. And it's that is...
Yeah, but they didn't do much. They didn't do much with
that.
Him.
Is textbook, that is textbook Buffy the Vampire Slayer shit right there. That is a way to elevate your goofiness to good goofiness. And I know they didn't do anything. Your argument that they didn't do anything with it doesn't fucking matter. It's establishing the stuff. I'm saying they established stuff. This is... What the fuck are we doing? The only real payoff we got here is the payoff of, did the apple farm survive? Oh, you didn't shoot him down here in the second half because you were protecting the apple farm, and then you tried to make sure that you didn't crash land your own plane in the apple farm. That was good payoff. And I would argue that was the only good thing the entire goddamn episode.
Oh, that and Freya's continuing. The fact that she got the smack in the face. It's a bit overplayed, especially for Macross. Was oh, woman, you have to get your hold of yourself. It's okay, sure. That was surprising. But I understood where Freya, they could have done that much better. Freya getting over her mental block that she doesn't want to hurt Hayate. The fact that she got over it by getting smacked in the face was
well, the element is that they don't stop singing to... Yeah. They can't have a conversation. I don't know what you would do in the moment. Obviously, I don't think it was good. I just don't think it was a good scene. We've done the singing thing 1,000 times now. I understand singing as a whole Macross motif. I just mean, we've done this. Freya's doing a thing in the middle of singing, and it either inspires everyone, or it brings them down, or they got to figure a way around it. Every couple of episodes, it's that.
Yeah.
I've been, I feel like, a fan of Macross Delta for a good bit of it. Maybe not so much the beginning episodes. They felt like a bit of a slog where we're what are we doing? But once we started to get into the mystery of Lady M, Akuma, what's that about? Who's Hayate's dad? Who's responsible for the bombing of Windermere? What's Royd up to? What's the overall protoculture Star Singer plot thing? Once mysteries became afoot, I was on board. It's oh, okay, there's a greater thing here. I might not be happy with the characters. I might not be happy with the relationship dynamics. I may be confused by a lot of what's going on here. But the fact that there's a mystery gives me something greater than everything else to pay attention to. And I don't... Well, I guess the mystery is still there. It's just when we have episodes that don't look at any of it. Makuma says, I'm still me, whatever the hell that means. Cool. Can we get on with solving that though? Can we see what did the Lady M make you? Where do you come from? Are you a clone? Are you a robot? What the fuck are you?
Yeah.
When you have a whole episode that doesn't get us any closer to an answer, I feel okay, I just wasted 24 and a half minutes not learning anything about the only part of the show that actually still interests me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to revisit it and see how I really feel about it. I guess I got caught up in the moment, and then I was
well, at the very least, at the end of the day, you still are I'm remembering back to this stupid conversation, a fighter nerd. which isn't what you should call that. I'm still arguing that's not what you call that. You enjoy aerial combat. So at the end of the day, you still get cool visuals you can look at.
Yeah, but ultimately, it has to be coaching something that makes those fights. Like you said earlier, the fights have to have meaning. Otherwise, just a cool fight. I can load up a video game and do that and not care, right?
I mean, it would be like if you were in World War One and you got into the air and you got into a fight with a red biplane, and you find out that the character that you lost your family to a crash that the Red Baron had caused. And you're like, finally, I'm going to get revenge for my family. Flashback to everything my mother had once told me. Flashback to my brother and his dreams that he never got to live because he died in the burning wreckage of a plane that you shot down. And then you shoot this guy down, and it wasn't the Red Baron. It was fucking nobody. And it's like, oh, why did I waste my time on this story? This fucking nothing. At most, now I have investment in a guy. The story does not pay off because he doesn't shoot down the Red Baron. He's a fucking nobody.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is a good time to call it a day on this episode.
I told you I wanted to wrap up on it, but I kept circling back around, I think 3 times now. That's how unsatisfied I am that I came up with 3 different ways to say how unhappy I am with this episode. Anyway, once again, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?